I was born in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, and initially I studied in Buenos Aires. I did my Bachelor of Arts in Buenos Aires. There I already began with constructive abstraction. I had the chance to meet very important people from Argentinian movements, concrete, abstract, geometric, etc. And then as I moved from my country, I was moving many times, and now I live in Spain. And when I settled in Spain, I continued my studies. I did a master in the Politécnica University of Valencia, a master of multimedia, because at that moment I was interested in introducing new media into my work. I'm interested in all my work is always like the same investigation, always in abstraction. In the first moment, it was like a more traditional abstraction, but for a certain moment, I began to be really interested in incorporating some disruptive elements, like abstraction can be something more than order. I'm very interested in chaos theory, in some elements like glitch elements, aleatory elements, playful elements. So I began, at a certain moment, incorporating all that kind of elements in my work, like playful elements. I do some choices that are not meditated, they are like hazards. And so I think that is very important, very intuitive. I'm very interested in exploring different medias. Initially, I worked with painting, my first move, and I always return to painting because I think that painting can say lots of things, no? But at the same time, I began developing the last years some other medias. Like after the master of new media, I began to do some audiovisual works. I began to do like audiovisual performances, incorporating interactive elements in the performances. I love that kind of work because I can work with groups, investigation groups in the university. So we work with programming and dance, moving image. It's interesting. And in my work, I began to work in three-dimensional objects with the same idea I was telling you before, like introducing ludic elements, like working, for example, in the series of paper, where I begin folding the papers and moving the papers, but in a very intuitive way. Also, I began some time ago that I'm developing here in the residence, like a series that they're like drawings, but space drawings. The line that is the element that I always use because I always work with the line. The line begins to move in the space. That will be a little bit the different ways I'm investigating. At a certain moment, I was really interested in going beyond the painting, because in the painting it's always like an illusion, no? The movement is very interesting, but now I'm working really with manipulating the elements in the space. I think that is very, very important, because I'm actually doing a PhD work, and I began investigating the women in abstraction, mostly Latin American abstraction. It was, at the first moment, it was because living in Europe, sometimes I found that there was like a little Latin beside the Latin American tradition. And also because geometry is a very solid movement that doesn't allow lots of other lectures around. So I began investigating, and I was asking also about myself. And I have a theory, I know it's something very personal. I found that normally the artists that incorporate some intuitive, playful, and risky fields in geometry, they began to be women. So that's a very interesting point, because it's like going somewhere that is not very sure, but it's very interesting. The other day I was seeing works of Marta Botto, the work of Lygia Clark, that she left the traditional work and she began with performance and actions. And even after the women in the Bauhaus, it's something very particular from the women. And another thing that I think that is very important, and I always like to say it, is that we have, as women, like a very fragmented time. When we work, we're not like a man that you have all the time to work. We have maternity. I have 2 daughters. I have moved 4 times from different countries. So in my career, there are many years that it wasn't possible for me to continue. So I think that also that fragmented time, that kind of intuitive and fragmented time, is also something that is normally related to women. And it's something that it's important not to penalize, because sometimes the art market and the art world penalize it like, oh, these 5 years, you have been doing nothing.
That's right.
Well, nothing. And 2 children, nothing. It's like, so I feel that we have to go in, go out, go in, go out. So it's something that it must be respected and it must be reivindicated by us, because it doesn't mean we abandon. It means simply we have another way of working. Is great. It's a very, very good opportunity. I like this interview I would love to thank very much the DC Foundation, because it is really a very, very important, as I was telling before, for us to have really 2 months to concentrate on our work, to have nothing else to do, and also to be introduced into the Miami art scene. So I'm very, very grateful. Also, Cristina, with the foundation, had invited me to visit some collections, and there are some really extraordinary experiences. So I'm very, very grateful, and it's a very good thing.